The narrative of financial instability in college sports is increasingly hard to swallow, especially when juxtaposed against the staggering revenues generated by Power 4 schools. Despite claims of an unsustainable model, these institutions are projected to rake in billions, with estimates reaching $7.4 billion in the 2025-26 fiscal year and potentially $10.5 billion by 2034-35. Yet, the same entities that cry poverty continue to hand out exorbitant contracts to coaches, like Oregon's Dan Lanning, who recently signed a 6-year, $60.4 million extension despite a mixed record in high-stakes games. This disconnect between revenue and rhetoric underscores the hypocrisy of a system that prioritizes coaching salaries and facility upgrades over fair compensation for athletes. The ongoing House settlement, which aims to establish a revenue-sharing model for players, highlights the financial realities of college sports. While schools like Texas and Cincinnati generate hundreds of millions in revenue, the proposed player compensation pool is a fraction of that, with each school expected to allocate $20 to $23 million annually for nil deals across all sports. This figure, though significant, pales in comparison to the millions spent on coaching staffs, recruiting budgets, and lavish facilities. The irony is palpable. Coaches like Steve Sarkisian and Bill Belichick command salaries in the tens of millions, while players, the very reason these revenues exist, are framed as a financial burden. The root of the problem lies in unchecked spending and misplaced priorities. Schools invest heavily in non-essential luxuries, from helicopter rides for recruiting visits to bloated administrative staffs, while simultaneously pleading poverty when it comes to player compensation. The recent coaching carousel, with coordinators like Jim Knowles earning more than many head coaches, further illustrates the skewed financial landscape. Instead of addressing these inefficiencies, the NCAA and its member institutions continue to blame player empowerment for their financial woes, ignoring the billions they generate and the unsustainable practices they perpetuate. The reality is clear. College sports are not unsustainable because of player compensation. They are unsustainable because of reckless spending and a refusal to adapt to a new era where athletes demand their fair share. Until schools prioritize fiscal responsibility and equitable revenue distribution, the cries of financial distress will ring hollow. The real issue isn't paying players. It's the unchecked excess that has defined college athletics for far too long.